Rich, where are you driving to? Anywhere good?
You can't hear me. I'm in North Carolina, Corolla, North Carolina, Outer Banks, in front of a library, because that's the only place I can get internet around here.
How is it in the Outer Banks? I'm going at the end of August.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Are you going to self-quarantine
beaches.
for 14 days when you get back?
Yes. Well, sort of. The number of infected people in the county here is like 51.
Right, and where I'm going to Ocracoke at 0.
Yeah, there you go. So, you know, and we're staying as a set, like a group. We're not moving outside of our.
That's what we do too. Yep.
Together, and we kind of just dominate this one little section of the beach, and then.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, this whole thing is crazy.
Yeah, because we leave August 20th, so right before school starts.
Right, and you're going to Ocracoke.
Yep.
Right. That's
We go every
area,
summer.
I've heard.
Wayne's not going to be able to join us.
Right.
Okay. Have you do you ever go to Duck Donuts while you're down there?
Of course we go to Duck Donuts.
I love Duck Donuts.
That's the best place to go. Yeah.
You know, there's one
We
in
haven't gone
Allentown.
yet. We kind of kept it. Yes, there is. Yeah, we've gotten them several times from there.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody goes down there, that's what happens. They pick them up. Yeah.
Yep.
Logging. Sharon says she'll be in 5 minutes.
Okay. Well, we have to wait for her since she leads it, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like your office, Rich.
Thank you, George. I just hope it keeps me cool. It's 104 right here.
I didn't know you were on
crazy.
vacation.
Yeah, I'm on vacation this week. The plan is to move up to the deck once the sun goes down, but it's still going to be in the mid 90s. At some point, I have to turn off the car because I can't waste that much gas.
So
But
do you
right
drive
now-
your car on the beach?
No. We stopped
Okay.
right before that point. We're just like a few, like about a mile from where the beach road is.
Okay.
So
Where,
Yeah.
where are you at, Rich?
Corolla, North Carolina. So the most northern county in North Carolina on the shores.
Okay.
And
Virginia.
I
is
drive
just-
even farther when I go on
miles.
vacation.
What's that?
Where I go is even farther down.
Yeah, you're even further down. Yeah.
We love it down there, though. That's where I want to retire to.
I've thought about it several times. Of course, you need two things: money and retirement. So I have neither one of those. But yeah, it would be nice. You know, I guess during the hurricane season, maybe not such a great place. And
We're gonna get a
during
camper.
winter, huh?
You get a camper so you can leave
You
quickly.
leave, yeah. Right. There you go.
It's just more money.
Yeah.
It's just more money, right? And I have
And they
none,
got-
so it's all.
Did they recover from Dorian? Did they get hit bad with Dorian? Whoops, we lost you.
Yep.
I see Jacob.
Until there was a trouble storm here like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's not that bad.
that's good.
Not at all.
But when you come back, you're gonna have to quarantine yourself, right?
That's what I
Well,
said, yeah.
yeah. So my boss is like, where you're going, it isn't that bad. You're not interacting with people. She's like, and you're not going to Florida, Georgia, or Texas. So get your ass back in and work.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, okay. Now my wife is definitely quarantined. She's not going. She has courthouse. She has to be at the courthouse every Monday and Wednesday. But they said, yep, just don't come in for the next 2 weeks. She's
Wow.
earned it. I mean, like she's been going. Even after the day after the shutdown or that Monday after shutdown, she was still in court that following Monday. Like she hasn't had a break yet. So I'm not. Yeah, there's no. Yeah. So how's the heat up there? Have you guys had any rain?
No,
No? Or need some rain for some plants up there?
All the plants are wilting.
Yeah, I am sure of that. Is it like in the hundreds there, or is it just 90s?
90s.
5 before when I was outside.
Ugh, that is miserable. All right, Sharon should be with us in a few moments.
Are you in the car by yourself, or are you at the hotel, or
I'm by myself here, yeah. Everybody else is.
everybody else is out sunning?
Yeah, everybody else is on the beach, and I figure till very late tonight, this is what we'll be doing.
Sharon just joined us. Yep.
All right, I see Sharon,
Okay. We'll let her
and this
begin.
is not my meeting, so I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm putting myself on mute.
Where is she? Sharon, are you all set? You're muted.
I'm gonna unmute now.
I can hear you now. There you go.
Wonderful. Good afternoon. Like to call to order. Roll call, please.
Sharon Glasgow,
Here.
George Andrews,
Here.
Rebecca Bear,
Here.
and Wayne Rona is
He'll make
absent.
it. Yeah, he won't make it.
Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the
to the flag
Flag.
of the United
of the
States,
United States of America and to the republic
Public.
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Adoption of the agenda.
Rebecca Bear makes a motion.
George seconded it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? An adoption of the agenda. Motion to adopt this agenda for July 20th, 2020, with the members of the committee reserving the right to add to the agenda and take further action as the committee deems appropriate. Approval of the minutes.
I'd make a motion to adopt the minutes.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Motion passes. So the policies for discussion tonight are policy number 005, presented for review. The questions and comments regarding policy 005.
Yeah, the only comment I have is there's a lot of things that are different in it than what we normally do. So either like with the secretary's rules, like on section page 204,
Mhm.
section SC 433,
Mhm.
the secretary or his designee shall, and most of those things are business office. So
Correct.
I think we need to really just take this into advisement and redo the whole policy.
For this particular, is it this particular section or the entire
The
policy?
whole policy is like that. Like you look at A is the Pennsylvania School Code secretary, but B says prepare invoices and payrolls for approval and payment. That's Tom McIntyre's group. The same thing with D is keep accurate and complete records of receipts, expenditures, inventories, insurance, and capital assets. That's
And receive
McIntyre.
and repair deposit for all rentals is also the business office.
Right.
And monthly reports is all the business office.
Yeah,
So would you like to review and bring back, make recommendations? for
I think the policy has to be rewritten to meet the needs of the whole
Of our
board.
district.
the current?
Right.
Fine.
Because right now, I thought we moved that responsibility to the business office, not the secretary.
And I
Well,
think
apparently it's still in here, that's why I
policy
said we
just
need to
doesn't
do the
reflect.
policy.
Yeah.
Right, so we just need to update the policy to do so we can revisit it.
Now, I don't know, like say, like the things like the tax collector, school physicians, dentists, so is that done by the superintendent or is that done by the board?
Well, we have the, like F is, we have delegates. We all have that. That wasn't that you should know, who was our delegate for the state convention? I don't remember, but we did do that. So,
There were multiple.
So we just have to redo it.
yeah.
So it sounds like for policy number 005 under organization, we'd like to further review. So we'll review that and then bring those recommendations forward to the administration.
Right, and I see they updated our education committee on the committees.
That's why we put this in here. We're going to keep the same.
Right.
Except when I started reading it, we were so far from what.
Right, section 433, we should add a section for the business office. Or the,
The right authority, right?
right.
Who do we have as treasurer? Anybody know who we have as treasurer?
We don't have a treasurer in the school board.
So we have to.
Diane Kelly is the treasurer for the school district. Diane Kelly.
Okay.
Thank you. And then it says vacancy in any office shall be filled by the school board directors.
Right. We don't have an assistant secretary though, do we?
No.
And the
This is Rich, and I just want to maybe make a point of clarification here. We appoint the secretary to do these tasks or to be ultimately responsible for those tasks. We then indemnify and then provide insurance for and make sure that they're bonded and all of those things for our secretary and treasurer. We appoint the treasurer, we appoint the secretary as part of our board procedures in the December meeting. So these are all roles and responsibilities of the secretary or the treasurer, but it's appointed by us for them to be responsible for. Really, it goes back to the business office. No matter how you delineate it, it
Right.
eventually goes back to the business office.
That was our point, yeah.
More clear, that's fine, but I don't know if part of that's a legal language that we need to have in there. And we might want to assign that to Chris Brown saying, can we make those adjustments based on what our real activity is versus what PSBA or the state say we have to do?
Correct.
That's all.
I agree. Okay.
Just to add to what Rich said, I think when you look at the secretary here, you have to remember the board secretary is the individual who prepares all of these items for the monthly agendas. So, yeah, so they are actually creating the agenda, which includes all these items. But as Rich said, if you're getting down to the granular piece of who's actually doing the work behind it, they are members within the business office would predominantly be doing that.
Okay.
And to piggyback on that point as well, when we review it, we'll make sure our solicitor looks at it because a lot of the language that is being highlighted here is verbatim the duties that are assigned to that position in section 433 of the school code where it states the secretary shall. So we'll just make sure we don't make anything there severed from where it belongs.
I'm sure we have to want Chris to do it for us, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments that we want to bring forward regarding policy number 005? We know we will be submitting information for review and updates.
No.
I'm gonna move forward to policy number 815. Excuse me, policy 221.
Policy
dressing grooming.
221, yeah.
Our favorite one, our favorite.
I think this is exactly what we were asking for with the acceptable school attire.
Yeah,
You know, we're not
I have
doing
this one question on it.
sure.
Because it says the principal or designee to monitor. Have we decided who's going to be the person responsible for this?
I think that's the most challenging thing, George, and I'm glad you brought that up, because right now it's it appears to be everyone's responsibility. Security, just anybody in the hallway.
Right. But I think what we need to put in there is if you don't get written up for it after, homeroom, unless you sign in late, just stipulate that. Because you can't have, kids being in homeroom, getting past there, and then fourth period, the teacher writes them up for it.
That's my issue.
Just keep in mind, Rebecca, that students are wise to that. They do bring changes of clothing, and they will do that in the middle of the day.
Yeah, I agree.
I know. I would hope they wouldn't, but
It doesn't preclude you from saying that if that's truly what you want. It would eliminate any measures of that after whatever time frame you would identify. But I just want everyone to be aware that that will happen.
Kids will be kids.
I know, right. But I think we're doing what they want. We're keeping it, simple, and the only thing they're not allowed to wear is see-through spaghetti straps, exposed undergarments, and torn or ripped clothing, or extremely baggy, or sunglasses,
And I think ultimately when we think about, our students and instruction and their ability to learn, if COVID has taught us nothing else, the apparel doesn't impact the ability to learn a lesson.
I agree.
I do understand that it could be disruptive, and it could be, it could turn eyes in a classroom and could be perceived as a kind of a nuisance. But I think given, I'm even relaying this to COVID in terms of, I think this dress code, going back to all of the comments and all the edits, really provides for parents who are living through COVID. They don't have to purchase all these khakis and all this new stuff. Kids can wear their dungarees and a polo shirt and, be comfortable.
And they'll be a little bit more comfortable wearing a mask without having to worry about their itchy collars or their, uncomfortable pants.
So from an expense perspective, there could be families that are having some hardship. One thing that I had a chance to read just to try to stay abreast of what other schools are doing. Currently in their policy under grooming, they've updated it to include masks. I'm not sure. I think that'll be under our safety, that's under our safety procedures, because prayerfully this is an isolated incident, but some schools have adopted it as part of their policy to have safety masks.
We have to. If we read the whole thing, I think we have to.
I did see something.
Again, somewhere in here I saw this morning that we've adopted that. Am I right, Billy?
Yes, George. It's on page 3 of 4 at the top. The second item is face mask.
It is listed there, Sharon. Yeah, I see it. Face mask must be worn.
And we're also taking a lot of time that teachers were spending. We just have one person doing it first thing in the morning, but the teachers don't have to worry about it. It takes a lot.
But what Dr. Riker said, though, they can be, ones that changed during the.
So I do have one question based on Dr. Riker's comments. Should there be another inspection at another point in the day?
After lunch, maybe?
That, you can do that. That's
Any
not a
other
problem.
thoughts? So can we add that as a second inspection may occur at a particular time in the day, just to,
Or do you want part of the, or do you want part of the AR?
George, that's exactly what I was going to suggest. I could do an AR that would indicate the 2 times that we would do the inspection of dress code, to include the morning, first thing in the morning and after lunch.
That would solve that one, yep.
that would
Yeah.
be ideal, Dr. Riker.
Because I'd like to move this forward on, I'm going to make a motion, just so you guys know, to put it on tonight's agenda, because I think it's going to lighten the blow for a lot of parents who are sending their kids back to school, to know that at least we, are addressing some of their concerns.
And I would second that or go along with it, however you want to put it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Motion passes to move policy 221 to tonight's agenda. Policy 220, student expression.
Yes, thank you, Sharon. I did want to put this on your radar just as a reminder that the district does have a policy related to student expression and distribution and posting of materials. I wanted to share that sort of in conjunction with the document included in your packet from Sweet Stevens and Katz regarding student expression, and the language that's in that email that you will see in your packet regarding that, the new ruling on students' free speech rights. And I'm just putting it there again to put it on your radar so that you can look at it. And if we need to make any adjustments, or if the board feels, the committee feels we need to, moving forward, make any adjustments to that policy. So I am not looking for any action or anything this evening, other than just to make you aware of that policy, make you aware of the email from the law firm of Sweet Stevens and Katz, and of course, bring that to your attention if there's anything we want to look to change in the August board meeting.
Have we had issues with student expression?
No, we have not.
Okay.
The
Do
way it looks though is that they're saying that as well, if it's done in school, we have control, but if it's done at home, we don't have as much control. Am I correct?
That's correct, George. The free speech part of that email you're reading does indicate that.
Yeah, so it makes it a little bit more difficult for us.
Right. Especially with cyberbullying and everything else. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, so we may need to look at our policy and see how that wording, I'm sure PSBA is going to come out with something in the future on that to make recommendations. So we're sort of ahead of that curve if we want to just take a look at it and think about how we may need to adjust our policy.
And now that we give every student their computer, it makes it that much more difficult.
And I think also given just some of the cultural opportunities, students are speaking up. And I think it's definitely worth a look just to make sure that I do have a question in terms of our policies. And I know they're all on the website for the district. I don't know how aware our students are of the actual policies of, that kind of govern their day-to-day activities. Is it the parents' responsibility? Or are we just putting it there and it's there? But is there ever an opportunity where students actually review and know the expectations?
Is that in the student handbook that we sign off on as parents?
Well, yes, but I think what Sharon's asking is if there's any purposeful time that we dedicate to make students aware of policies that may impact them and their decisions and their choices in schools. And I can't think of one, Sharon, right off the top of my head. So I think that's a great point. You know, how can we get students, it's just there, using what you said, it's really just there. I don't know of any. That's not to say there aren't, but I'm sure, I know in our law class, which I visit quite frequently, they do have those discussions. They do talk about policies, but that's obviously a small population of our student body.
Right. And what I'm thinking is, thank you for the clarification, is maybe, you know, and it doesn't have to happen now, but just keep it in the forefront of our brains. You know, the top 5 that affect our students, which are dress code, the use of technology, this one, expression, maybe those are ones.
Acceptable use of communication. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That technology, which we're going to look at in a minute. Yeah. I think those are ones that all should at least be privy to, but we can figure out a way to disseminate it, to at least have them acknowledge that they've reviewed. Not the most pressing, but just thinking ahead.
I think most of them are in our student handbook, which don't we go over that in the beginning of the year?
Parents have to sign off on it. And it does reference the policy numbers in there.
We want to make sure that those important ones that day to day,
Right.
where we get most of the internal suspensions, we just want to make sure that those are highlighted, because we could probably find out what are those violations, what are the, you know, what are we spending time on that we shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
Just thinking about that.
How can we prevent expulsion hearings or suspensions or ISS?
No.
We are required to post the bullying and cyberbullying policy in each classroom. That is a requirement that we have. So they should be posted in each classroom throughout the district.
Right.
Oh, that's helpful. Thank you.
And Sharon, this is Ryan. The other policy that we need to train students on is sexual harassment. Overarching really will be harassment discrimination. So that is a policy that we will provide training to students and staff on an annual basis.
Is that in the student handbook?
I believe it is.
It is. We just got the handbook in there, yeah.
So maybe those policies that are very critical, we either do an all bold or say important read, or somehow indicate to the students and the parents, these are what you got to look out for. I can't, the policy books themselves are so massive, they wouldn't even know where to look. So I think that it's just getting the parents and students to read those policies in the that are critical in the student handbook.
What I will commit to from the policy committee is kind of going through and grouping up what I think are the top 5 and report back to the to our committee here, just to see if there are any others that should be added. But I think it would be great to put those in the forefront. You know, kids, you know, somehow zone it out on a site or send something out to them in addition to the policy.
I agree. I think that's a great idea.
So we'll keep policy 220, no action required other than the commitment that the policy chair will look through and identify the top 5 policies that impact student behaviors and report back to the committee, and then we'll figure out how to disseminate that and make sure it's available and accessible. I'm going to move forward to policy number 815. I have a couple of thoughts about policy number 815, and actually had conversations with a lot of kids. So I think the issues or the opportunities are with these earbuds.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a temperamental thing, because depending on the teacher, the mood, what's going on, sometimes it's acceptable and sometimes it's not. So I don't think students know when to make the judgment call. The policy says it shouldn't be, but some teachers allow it.
Correct.
So how do we give one solid message in terms of expectations?
I don't think they should allow it, at least in the classrooms, in that if a teacher's trying to give it a lecture and all, and the kids have earbuds on, how can they be paying attention to what the teacher's saying? So I have no
Or
problem.
they could be
looking at-
taking a test with their earbuds on, getting the answers in their ears
Well,
too.
so in the classroom, I'm totally against it.
Unless the teacher specifically says she's allowing it at this time.
Right.
And we have to train. Maybe it's not it's a student issue one way, but it's also a teacher issue. That guys, this is the rules of the school district. You as a teacher have to follow the rules of the school district. Sometimes we have to educate the teachers as well as we have to educate the students.
Right.
And the policy is pretty clear because it's not admissible, or it shouldn't be.
I'm not sure the teachers know the policy.
This is another policy reason for Sharon's top 5.
Right.
24. This one's 24 pages long.
I know, it's a big one. And I think that's why this one continuously comes back, like we've been putting it off. But I think the number one opportunity is just the temperament of who at what time and when it's acceptable. It might be to our advantage to say unless, but I wouldn't want to put that in the policy. I would like to have the teacher have the liberty to say, when it's convenient for them. You know what I mean?
We can just say no, and that the teacher says yes for that particular time, then that's up to the teacher.
We can put it in policy one way, and then if it has to be slightly changed, Dr. Riker can do an AR on it, and we work it that way instead of changing the whole policy.
That's the one opportunity I had with this policy. I didn't have anything else, just that discussion on.
Right. And then I know some of the kids in some of the schools had access to the VPN, but it was taken away. But it was because a student misused it and was using it for inappropriate means. So.
I do have one more question, and I think we talked about this as a board. At one time, the students had used the technology to conduct a survey.
Correct.
Similar to, we as administration have access and we create surveys. I feel like if a student or a student group is using it for something for the betterment or clearer understanding, such as creating a survey or researching and getting information, and it isn't derogatory, I think that it should be used just for that.
But maybe if they're going to do that, we can say that, but they have to get permission from the school administrator to set it up so that they're aware of it.
I think that
and it could also be tied under there again. You have 2 2-0s a little bit on that too.
Correct. So if we say right, so if they do they want to do the dress code petition like they did with the survey, they can say, okay, Mr. Catrillo, I'm going to set up this survey and petition to sign for the dress code as is, or to go back to the old way. Do you give me permission to disseminate this out?
And maybe
as long as the principal, gives permission, then it should be able to be done. Because then we're not saying we're not aware of it. We are aware of it, and it's a learning experience for all of them.
If it's going to be multi-schools, let's say north and south, we may have to have one level up.
Right.
Permission.
So almost, if I could just paraphrase what you were saying, Rebecca, students may use technology for educational purposes, by example, survey, research, let's put student-centered research, or
right.
With the permission of the highest school, the building official, the highest building official, something like that. I think that would close the loop.
We don't want to, and the other thing is we don't want to hinder the students' rights. That's why I say it's tied into students' rights.
Right, and that way the principal is approving the wording, so we know it's appropriate.
Yeah, I think that would be a great opportunity that students would appreciate that. And it also keeps us in the loop, and they're not using another tool. They can go do a Google Doc and create their own and send it.
And And it teaches them the right way to get information, not just say we're going to do whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's.
I think it's educational for them to do that.
It's a good way to learn proper advocating. You know, if someone's overlooking it, you know, it's just to gather research in order to prove a point or make a claim or just substantiate a way of thinking that might be different from a survey we might disseminate.
Mm-hmm. It could be as simple as, do we have a dance or not, you know?
So for any other questions, comments regarding policy 815?
No.
We know that'll be one that's added to our top 5.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a comment. It's Brian Borash.
Hi, Brian.
Hello. George indicated about ARs. There are a couple ARs to this policy. There's 815-AR, where we can make some adjustments without having to touch the policy. And then the other ARs are basically for issuing devices to students or staff.
Do you think that method, what we spoke about, would fit into the AR if they get a pre-approval to do their petition or survey?
Yes, and the incident you referred to, I think that's where the students kind of got in trouble. I don't remember if it was high school north or high school south. They did not
North.
They did not communicate it with the principal, and that went out. And not only did it go to students, but it went out. I think they were sending it to staff members as well.
Correct, they were.
And they got the horse before the cart before the horse.
Right, and that's just Sharon's point, is they don't know the policy, so they thought they were doing the right thing, but they weren't. So it's important for us to make sure that the policies such as these are clearly communicated to our students and to our faculty as well as families.
There is a summation of this policy in the student handbook.
Right.
That's good to know. I do have, so what I'm hearing is that this policy 815 as is can move forward, and we will add additional information to the AR regarding permissions.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, perfect. Any other,
Actually, Sharon, 815 is already an approved policy, so it would not, as long as we're making no changes, it's already in effect. So there's no need there. We would just be fixing the ARs.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
At this point.
And we'll leave it just as is. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
Included in the packet for your review is the PSBA Policy News Network newsletter, Volume 2, 2020. Is there any discussion regarding the PSBA, what was shared?
Oh, ma'am.
To be honest with you, I didn't get a chance to read it. I was.
Rebecca, do you have anything?
No, I'm good.
Perfect. We're going to move on. We're going to move on to the public participation portion of this meeting. If you do have any questions, comments, or concerns, now's the time to step up or raise your hand, and we will address any of your questions or comments. I see that there are 2 participants that raised their hands. I'm just making my screen big so that I can see. Can you raise your hands again? I apologize. I have my screen large now. Any public comments or participation?
I thought I saw
Keith and Daryl.
Keith and Daryl, yes.
They both had their hands raised.
I'm on.
Wonderful.
Can I speak?
Yes, now's the great time. Thanks, Keith.
Hey, I want to first applaud you all for discussing these policies. It's nice to hear the board discussing policies in detail like you are. But I just want to just caution make one caution to you, just to bring to your attention. A lot of things are talked about, oh, well, we can let it go to, the teacher can better understand that, or better, like the earbuds. Some teachers are allowing it, some teachers aren't. This is what's getting a lot of our kids in trouble, because maybe a brother or sister has a teacher at one school that allows it and another teacher doesn't. I understand you want to do that, but if you do that, the teacher is the one that's not following the policy, not the students, by allowing them to do it. I mean, the policy is clear about certain electronic devices, and just be leery of that, you know, because in reality, if the teacher is allowing them to use earbuds in the classroom and the policy says they can't, then in reality, the teacher is now breaking policy, not the student. And, you know, I understand kids, our biggest thing with technology is, I mean, these kids are learning on their cell phone, they're learning on their iPads, they're learning on their Chromebooks, and they get to school and they can't use them in the classroom. And I think that's crazy, but just be cautious of that. And you know, that just just be open about that, because to look at that. And, you know, the whole policy issue, there's a lot of crazy policies, and I'm glad you're looking at them all. And I applaud you for that. But like,
Keith, that's why I was saying that the teachers have to be trained on the policies and the codes and all, just as well as the kids.
Well, there's also times too, George, that they do use their earbuds when they connect it to their Chromebooks, because they can connect it via Bluetooth from their Chromebooks. And there's times where the kids learn that way because they're doing something independently.
But that's the policy is such, and that's the AR.
Exactly.
We want to keep the policy pretty straight, I would think, and then we use an AR is how we get flexibility.
Correct. I agree.
Keith, thank you for those comments. I agree wholeheartedly, because it should be fair and equitable, and what's standard for one as the student should also be standard for the teachers.
thanks. Thanks.
Daryl?
Okay, great. I want to thank you all for months and months of going over the dress code and defining it to what it is. And I think it's completely acceptable that after lunch, we do a double check. That is absolutely positively acceptable, that the kids get to wear what they wear, and then there's a double check. I absolutely agree with that. That's perfect. I'm not really sure what what you're not taking away earphones. You're talking about just the ear pods, correct?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, the buds, the
Just
wireless
the
ones.
buds. Oh, okay. Because I was like, no, they need that technology. I don't know any teacher that wants to hear 20 different videos going at the same time. Okay, I was a little confused with that last one there. But I know that I can't imagine that every single teacher goes and reads the new policy. So there has to be some sort of way that each of them knows what your new policy that you just put out is, you know, that they're going to all follow that same rule, because Keith had it dead on. What happens in one classroom is not happening in the next classroom, and it's not even classrooms. It's what's happening with one principal isn't happening with the next principal. And that's where the parents are like, well, you can do it at JTL. Why can't you do it at the high school? That's where the confusion lies. And that's where we all are getting in trouble. But that was just my afterthought of me saying thank you for finally coming up with a resolution to the dress code, and listening to the kids and being open-minded. And I really appreciate it. And Rich, please don't turn me off after 3 minutes today. I have 5 minutes. But I can take off dress code probably now. So, I mean, it might cut me down to 4.5. Don't turn me off. Thank you.
Daryl, I agree that what we have the beginning of the school year, we have teachers come in a week early.
Right.
They need to have a session during that week where the teachers get brought up to speed on those.
Well, sure, but during the year.
Pardon?
We change it during the year. Like, you know, as you're changing the policies every month, you know, you have the policy meeting, you change it, you know, they're not going in and saying, well, oh, wonder what happened at that meeting on Monday.
Actually, Daryl, I do send a monthly email out to all staff, letting them know which policies were changed each month. to
I'm sure.
refer to them.
Yep.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but like you said, Darryl, there's no guarantee that they open it up and read it.
Right.
Correct.
And thank you for Debbie, because that does come out. I actually looked through that just before the meeting to notice that 7 policies were approved since our last meeting. They were up for review and now they're through the system. So yeah, just pay attention. And this goes back to relevant information, and I don't want to create more work for us, but is there a way that we can highlight those that are changed, that have recently changed to the top of the website on a monthly basis?
Ooh,
I
yeah.
just think about some things behind the scenes. I don't want to, but I don't know if that it would even garner someone else opening it up just because it's there, because I don't know how many hits come to the policy page. And I don't want to ask for crazy statistics and
I think we
Sure.
just, for teachers and all, we just got DocuSign or something like that through one of our vendors. And
But
if we have changes in policy, we could send that with a DocuSign and the teachers have to sign it, that they read the policy.
Sharon, I'll make a suggestion. What I can do is ask that the principals include in their monthly faculty meeting a quick review of any policy changes that would have occurred, depending on when the meeting is, either from the previous month or from that current month. And that could be a standing faculty meeting topic on their agenda.
I do have a question. For the faculty meetings, are they heavily, for faculty, for the teachers, are they heavily attended? Like, is that a mandatory meeting for them?
It is by contract. They have to attend, I believe it's 2 meetings every month, minimum.
Dr. Riker, that would be an ideal solution. At least they would have greater access.
Yes.
Because it would be an agenda item and a standing item. If that could happen, that would be ideal.
That sounds like an easy fix.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll make that change.
Perfect. Can we go back to the agenda on the front screen? Any other public part? Maria, Hopkins, I see your hand there.
Hello, yes, how are you doing today?
Wonderful.
I just wanted to thank everyone, as well as Darryl said, this has been a long time coming with addressing the dress code, and I think that this is definitely more appropriate for our district. And Sharon, or Dr. Glasgow, excuse me, congratulations on that. You're correct about the expense that it's going to take for all these families to now repurchase khakis and collared shirts, and it's just not, this is not the climate to demand that of families. And there's also the issue of people not being comfortable going out and shopping, and fitting rooms aren't even open. So if ever there was a time to have the dress code changed, it would be now. And I think that I know this is just the committee and it needs to be brought to the board at large. And I'm hoping that the rest of the board feels the same way. I don't actually know how the vote will go. So I do hope that there's strong support for this, because it really is needed at this time, particularly this school year, to accommodate the situations that families are in right now. But I appreciate all the work that you all put into it. Thank you.
Thank you. We want to, I just want to say a comment. Thank the parents and the students for standing up for this this issue and or opportunity, because we try to listen to every one of your concerns when rethinking. And thank you to the students who documented. I had several commentary that Deborah had sent on behalf of student perspectives. So that helps, and we appreciate your feedback. And I'm glad this, one particularly worked out, hopefully in our favor, and we'll see how it moves forward. Are there any other public comments? Just looking for hands. Advisory recommendations. And I think we had a couple of opportunities moving to ARs in terms of, instead of governing under policy, we'll move those comments over to ARs for administration and teachers to review. Action by the committee. Is there a motion?
Now, Sharon, you had made a motion, or Rebecca did, to move policy 221 tonight to tonight's board agenda.
Yes,
I'm not exactly sure how that,
I'll make the motion at the board meeting. Live.
okay. And
I was just giving a heads up. Yep.
right, okay, and each of the other board members do have a copy of the policy book, so that you might suggest to look at that during executive session,
Okay,
so
it is-
that way they'll be prepared to vote on it when you get to that point later this evening. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Motion to authorize and direct the administration to post the following items with noted reviews for public review during the month of July and subsequent board action in August. And those.
So
There's-
moved.
Do we have any to move forward?
So you're saying 220 and 815 would be in the ARs, we would adjust, so there's nothing else
Correct.
to move forward from this meeting then?
That's what I'm seeing it as, I guess.
And 005 we'll bring back again after we take a look at those items that George had mentioned.
Correct.
Adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, everybody there.
I'll see you in 10 minutes in executive session.
Sure will.
See you
Thank
then,
you all.
guys.
Have a good night.
Good night.